All right, everybody, what's going on? Good late afternoon, swinging into the evening now, and I thought I'd go ahead and make a follow-up video on the video earlier about the Jake Bobo offer sheet, because we now have new information that I think changes things pretty drastically. If this was just kind of a normal, expected offer sheet, the kind that I was talking about earlier, then I probably wouldn't even make a video, but this is actually kind of interesting, and I think it changes things pretty significantly here. So let's talk it through. The offer sheet details came out in the last like half an hour or so. Albert Breer has it here on X. And here's the thing. When I made that video earlier, one thing I said is that the offer sheet would probably be a 1-year deal. It's not. They actually decided, and this is how they are able to kind of loophole their way into topping our tender without actually giving him a unreasonable amount of money. It's a 2-year deal. So even though, and to me, this is kind of nonsense. I don't think this is a good thing necessarily, but I can see the upside of it. Even though our tender is significantly more on an average annual value basis than the offer sheet Jacksonville gave Bobo. The value of the offer sheet is more because it's a 2-year deal. So it's 5.5 million. So that's 2.75 million per year for 2 years. Now, I have mixed thoughts on the fact that the offer sheet can kind of circumvent the tender like that. I mean, where's the line here? Can you give somebody a 5-year deal worth 5 million total? I don't know exactly what the logic is here. But the interesting thing here, because let me just go ahead and lead with this. So 2 years, 5.5 million. Now you're talking 2.75 million per year for Jake Bobo. I'm on board with that. I think he's worth that. And I'm not a big Bobo fan or anything. There are people out there who like Bobo more than I do for sure. But I think he's worth 2.75. You're getting a little bit as a receiver. You're getting plus run blocking. You're getting plus special teams play. You're getting somebody that has mostly been healthy this year. I know he missed some games last year, but there's something there. I don't think 2.75 million per year over a 2-year deal is bad. But here's the thing. And here's where the Seahawks have to make a little bit of a decision here. According to Breer, most of the deal, most of the 5.5 million is fully guaranteed. So if you do this, you're basically married to Jake Bobo for this year and next year. There's no flexibility or minimal flexibility to move off of him this offseason or even next offseason. That is probably the hang-up Schneider will have. And I think that there is going to be a little bit of concern about taking a player like a Jake Bobo, who is somewhat valuable, but ultimately relatively replaceable and doesn't bring that much to the table, and saying we're going to commit to him for multiple seasons. We're going to remove our opportunity to get rid of Bobo and do better. Because, again, it's not that hard to do better than Jake Bobo. Maybe it's hard to find a player like him. You can find players that will do more for your team than him. Now, there's one other piece here, by the way. The 2-year deal can go up to 7 million because there are 1.5 million in incentives. So if he hits his incentives, it's actually 3.5 million per year. But the incentives are kind of goofy. Breer put this here. The incentives are for number of catches, number of receiving yards, and number of receiving touchdowns. 25 is the minimum for catches, 250 is the minimum for yards, and 5 is the minimum for touchdowns. I mean, Jake Bobo has never even had 20 catches or 200 yards or 3 touchdowns in a season, even back when we used him a lot. Like 2023, his best year, like he didn't even come that close. And now he's coming off a year where he had 2 catches and then had 2 more in the postseason and 20 yards and no touchdowns until the NFC title game. And like, there's no way he gets here unless our whole team just dies. Like the number of injuries we'd have to receivers for Jake Bobo to even have a chance at any of these incentives is not particularly realistic. So to me, the incentives are whatever. I'm not even really thinking about that. So 25 catches, 250 yards, 5 touchdowns. If Jake Bobo does that in 2026, then good for him. But yeah, not really worried about that. And same for any year in the future. I just don't think he's that kind of a even moderately voluminous receiver. But even if you take that out, you still have that multi-year commitment to him that I think is a little bit concerning. Now, I would be cool with it. Like I said earlier, if you got to give Bobo 4 million for 1 year, I'm not into that. To me, he's not worth the 4 million. Maybe you can spin it because you have money to spend. But if you're going to ask me, are you going to get 4 million or $4.5 million worth of value out of Jake Bobo in 1 season on this team, in this offense, in this circumstance? I think the answer is no. Look at some of the guys we've signed over the last couple of weeks. You got Emmanuel Wilson for less than 2 million. And look at what we're probably going to get out of him. Probably like 500, 600 yards from scrimmage. Rodney Thomas. You're going to get Rodney Thomas probably about the same amount in terms of value to your team that you're going to get out of Bobo, and you got him for not even 2 million. I think you guys get what I'm saying here. Even Cody White. Cody White can probably give you most of what Bobo gives you, maybe even an equivalent amount, and you got him for basically nothing. So I don't think I can justify Bobo for 4 million, except to just say, who cares? And that's not a very good justification to do something. But if it's 2.75 million per year for 2 years, I feel like that's different. I think I can justify that. Because again, little bit as a receiver, little bit as a special teamer, little bit as a run blocker, and you are getting run blocking stuff from him that you're not necessarily getting from a guy like Cody White. And with the Torrey Horton situation being what it is, that little downtick in money, combined with the fact that we have seen him be a decent receiver in the past, although I feel like that's not coming back, I can kind of buy it. I can kind of get into it at that point. So, again, the issue is, do you want to commit yourself to Bobo for 2026 and 2027? I think I'd still do it. I think I would. I think I can get 2 years of value out of Jake Bobo. Again, maybe he's not the crucial special teamer on this team, but he's a good one, good run blocker, and there's a little bit of receiving upside there, I guess. So I'd do it. I don't love it. I understand why John might not do it. John's probably looking at it and going, look, there's not much of a difference in value between him and Cody White. If I'm getting Cody White for what, 1.5 million, probably something like that, then why am I giving Bobo almost double that, even if he gives you a little bit of something different? I get it. But this feels different. This I would do. The guarantees are unfortunate, but so be it. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think.